Hello and welcome to The Insider, a show designed to clue you into the biggest news, events and announcements inside the video games industry, discussing with you some things you may know, some things you may not, and a glue holds it all together is a little bit of my own opinion. My name is Paul James, thank you very much for watching, and let's kick off another episode.
Do you see all that I have done?
So I guess I lied a little bit yesterday and not intentionally, but when I said that yesterday's episode was going to be the first of 3 successive episodes where we spoke about the big 3 publishers. Yesterday we had our episode about Nintendo, and then all of a sudden a bomb got dropped. Bungie and Activision are splitting up. Destiny is not going to be published by Activision anymore. And that makes for a really interesting topic of discussion, and we're going to focus on that in this week's episode of The Insider.
I am God, and I alone am worthy.
So let's set the stage a little bit. Bungie and Activision worked out a 10-year deal beginning in 2010, obviously set to end at the end of 2020. The 10-year deal was going to allow Bungie to work under Activision, use their finances, use their support in order to develop the Destiny franchise, which, this deal started in 2010. The first Destiny didn't come out until 2014. But it used that time, that money, that funding, that support to be able to develop the Destiny franchise and turn it into what it currently is. Well, with that deal falling apart or coming to an end 8 years into the 10-year deal, it leaves us wondering what this all means. And we're going to talk about all that through a few different lenses. What it means for Activision, what it means for Bungie, what it means for Destiny. And we're going to begin to do that next.
We all know what needs to be done.
Get up close and personal with Gulp, put a bullet in his head, then maybe eat a sandwich.
So let's look at the impact of this whole decision for Activision. Activision being the publishers of the Destiny franchise to this point. Now we've seen 2 games in 8 years, and in the case of Destiny 2, the sales numbers weren't amazing. Apparently Activision was a little bit disappointed, was underwhelmed by the sales milestones that the game was hitting, and have been somewhat public about that in the time since Destiny 2's release. Well, maybe it got to the point where it was suddenly financially feasible and maybe even beneficial to them to let go of Bungie, to let go of the franchise and explore other options. They are working on some several big or potentially big IP. Obviously they've got Call of Duty. There is the Skylanders franchise that maybe they'll try and revive it a la Rock Band and Guitar Hero a couple of years ago. But that concept made them a ton of money over the years. And then of course there is Sekiro, or Sekiro I should say. The From Software game that is only a couple of months away. It would cost them far less to make than it would for them to produce or fund or support a game like Destiny. And From Software has a lot of cachet. The return on investment might be much greater when it comes to a game like Sekiro. So it'd be really interesting to see what happens to Activision from here when their statements start to come out at the end of the financial year.
This is great. Anyone want a hug? No hugs.
So what does this deal mean for Bungie? Well, it means they're independent. It means they're going to be self-publishing future iterations of Destiny or expansions or anything Destiny related. It's going to be dealt with specifically by Bungie. And that's huge. They've got ownership over the franchise, perception and optics, a lot of the things that Activision, unfortunately, rightly or wrongly, doesn't have a good name amongst gamers. The community of the firm belief, and I think there's some merit to it, that Activision are out there looking to squeeze every single little dollar out of us, whether it's microtransactions or whatever. Now, regardless of whether or not those features remain in Destiny 2 and are present in a potential 3rd Destiny or whatever else goes on afterwards, at the end of the day, that perception, those optics, it's no longer a concern.
We need to keep our eyes on our home, our people.
And of course, what does this all mean for Destiny, the game at the center of this whole discussion? Well, it means the conversation of microtransactions, that's now up in the air. Maybe it gets debated, maybe some of those features, maybe they were features that were forced upon Bungie by Activision. Maybe they'll get ripped from the game in favor of a more user-friendly approach, a gamer-friendly approach. Now who knows, we don't know, we can't sit here and definitively say that was all Activision and Bungie had no say in the matter, they were unwilling participants. We just don't know that. But at the end of the day, this conversation can now be raised, and it is in Bungie's hands to control that fate, as opposed to it being a joint decision or potentially totally Activision controlled decision and discussion that goes on. They're free of compromise. This is an opportunity for Bungie to wipe the slate clean, to come at Destiny 3 or whatever happens next and say, this is our thing, there's none of that compromise, this is all us, and if there is something wrong, it lies at our feet. It is our problem and we will resolve it. And I think that's great for any developer to be able to come out there and just take ownership. There's no handballing, there's no company line or any of that sort of thing. They can just come straight out there and say, this is what it is, we're sorry, or hey, we're responding to feedback, whatever it is. If they make mistakes, that's great. And they'll learn from them and they'll respond to it, and it's going to be better for the community around the game. And the best thing is, of course, that Destiny is still under Bungie's control. Activision relinquished the rights to, or are in the process of relinquishing the rights of Destiny to Bungie. That's awesome. Again, we kind of sit back and we think of Activision as this really money-hungry company and really bullish about what they want, and that they're anti-consumer, they're anti-developer. Well, this is a great show of faith and a really good act, and he's hoping that it all pays off for all parties.
You gotta promise me, put Aldrin in the ground.
We have a deal.
Something else to keep in mind is that this is not the first time that Bungie has done something like this in the past. Bungie has been responsible for the Halo franchise all the way up to the end of Halo Reach. And of course, they're not in development. They're not the development team in charge anymore. That's 343. They actually left Microsoft. They were not an exclusive party, first party like that, but they were working exclusively with Microsoft, and they left. They broke those ties. They moved on. It's not the first time they've done it successfully, and it may not. Well, it's happened again, and this could be permanent now. They could be an independent party, just like Insomniac and some of the other big third-party developers out there. Second party, whatever we want to call them, but they're not going to be an exclusive studio to anyone right now. And that bodes really, really well for them, the gamer, and anyone who plays their products.
Any last words?
How's your sister?
And so that concludes this episode of The Insider. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. All those buttons are down below here, and hit that notification bell. That way you're alerted to every new video the moment it goes live on the channel. That includes Patched, The Insider, Player 2 Plays, Late Game Review, Gamer School, and a whole bunch more. There is some awesome content there, so please be sure to go and check it out. Also visit the website, player2.net.au, where you'll find reviews, previews, opinion pieces, news, features, the Player 2 Writer's Draft, links to our podcast series, Dev Diary, and the Player 2 podcast. There's some big changes coming to that, so stay tuned, check it out. We've also got links to our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/player2au. There's regular streams, go and check it out. We're affiliated now, things are growing, they've put a ton of time and effort into it. It's going great guns, check it out. We're also on Patreon, patreon.com/player2au, and consider kicking in a few dollars. At the lower tiers, you get early access to episodes of this and The Insider, Patched, This is The Insider, and a whole bunch more. At the higher tiers, you get monthly episode exclusives and the ability to join us in the Player 2 podcast. There's some awesome incentives there, and you're helping the Player 2 dream to grow. Thank you very much in advance. And for rolling updates, you can find me at Paul James Games on Twitter, the website you'll find at Player2au, and until next time, well, this was an episode I wasn't expecting to be doing, but I'll see you next week with another first party preview. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.